What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Chat on the Mat. I've got Mondo with me today.
What's up?
I'm Sensei Denny. You guys already know what's up. So, we're gonna change up the format just a little bit. So, moving forward, what we're gonna be doing is shooting these videos, shooting these podcasts, talking about the Matchat for that month. So, this month, June, we're talking about kindness and relationships. Right above me, I know you can't see it, but right above me is written up on the whiteboard, kindness and relationships. We're gonna break that down a little bit today and kind of go over what all that means to us, as well as what we're discussing in class. Mondo, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well, doing really good. How are you?
I'm doing good. You know, at the time of recording this, it is 1 a.m. It is
Friday night.
Well, it's now Saturday morning.
It's Saturday morning,
Saturday
but
morning.
we had Friday night grappling,
Yep.
which was a blast. It was hot in here. Got super sweaty.
It was muggy in
It was amazing.
It smells disgusting in here right now.
Super fun.
Great. So, like I said, this month we're talking about kindness. So, really, let's start off with first what kindness is, and then we'll go off of that. So,
Yeah, let's do it.
as we define kindness this month, we are saying that kindness is going out of your way to make somebody else feel better, whether it's with your actions, your words, you know, your attitude, right? It's going out of your way to make somebody else's day better, to make their lives better, improve them in some sort of way. The biggest thing with that is, my thing is, it doesn't mean it's not at an inconvenience to you. Meaning, it might be an inconvenience to you to be kind to somebody else. You have to go out of your way to give that kindness to somebody, to build somebody up.
Yeah, and I think that you build that, you know, it's like a choice that you make as opposed to just like a feeling, like a kindness. Like you don't feel kindness, you choose to be kind. And I feel like if you consistently choose kindness, it doesn't feel like you're going out of your way anymore.
Right.
If you consistently choose it, it's just a part of like your brain and the way that you rewire your brain to just be kind all the time. It just feels like a part of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like a habit.
Yeah.
And the thing about that too is it builds momentum. So you start with a small act of kindness, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you held the door open for somebody, and then it feels good, and it just naturally starts rewarding itself, and it builds that momentum.
Yeah.
You know, so we also have this idea, right, with kindness, that this metaphor that we use at the dojo, and it's that we have an imaginary bucket above our heads, right?
Yeah.
And people are at their best when their buckets are full, right? You feel the best, you perform the best when your bucket is full, right? So being kind, we can imagine it as taking a scoop of sand and placing it in somebody else's bucket.
Yeah.
Now with that is also, you put a scoop in their bucket, and at the same time, you put a scoop in your bucket. So giving out that kindness to people around you, right? It makes them feel good, it makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
It's this feedback loop of, like you said, it builds the momentum. It's like a habit.
Yeah.
It feels good to give that kindness, right? And through that kindness you're giving, you give yourself some too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in all honesty, I mean, if you first try and build a habit like anything, it takes more energy to start it at first. So sometimes it might feel like, you know, oh man, I went out of my way to be kind to this person, and it might feel like your bucket's being emptied, but over time you realize that you see more good when you're kind to the people around you, which then fills your bucket back up because you're not surrounded by negative thoughts. And I think it's important to fill the bucket of every single person around you in every scenario, because you never know what's going to happen. And you shouldn't fill your bucket in thinking that your bucket should be filled in return. You should just fill the bucket just because it's a part of who you are and what you do.
I like that. See, what's interesting is that I think even if you try to act kind in a very selfless way, it still has this reward loop of, you could think in your head, man, I'm just doing it to be kind, but there is still that little sense of, hey, I did something good for somebody, you might think it's selfless, but it also makes you feel good.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
people that are very selfless in their ways and everything, they act in this way, kind gestures outwardly, but it also just right back at you. It makes
Yeah.
you feel good.
Yeah.
Like when you think of it like, you ever seen those trends online where people are at the drive-through and they pay it forward?
Yeah.
Or they pay for somebody else's food? Like it just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Giving that little kind
Yeah.
gesture.
Yeah. And it's important because people remember that. You know, they remember that feeling of, wow, that guy was nice to me. That guy was, you know, and they'll pay it forward to other people and maybe even pay it forward to you at some point. And yeah, I mean, people remember those nice things that you did for them,
Yeah.
and they carry that into the rest of their day. And it might not benefit just you; it could benefit a whole. It's like a tree branch. It goes through that whole entire person's life. You know, I mean, doing a good action for somebody could make their whole week, make their whole month, even if it's something super little. And then they have a completely different outlook, and it causes them to spread that kindness, which is, you know, what I think it's part of what we've been talking about is how contagious kindness is. Like, if I'm just nice to one person, if that's my goal for the day is to just be nice to one person, then that one person, okay, I was nice to them, and they kind of take that energy into their day. Okay, I should be nice to somebody else as well. I should spread that kindness to somebody else. And then it's just like a domino effect of spreading positivity through, you know, one action. It just turns into like 10 other things that maybe you never see, you never realize,
Yeah.
and you would never really know, but it does happen.
Yeah, I now that you mentioned that, like how small a gesture might be, I remember a long time ago when I was back in my day. All right, I was a wee little boy in elementary school. There was this program for lower income communities, and it was basically like free tutoring. It was an online tutoring service, and there was this big convention that we went to, and there were different booths that you could go to, and my mom and I were walking around all the booths and different services that were being provided. And I remember one of the booths that we went to, I don't remember how the conversation went, but all I remember is the gentleman at the booth, he looked me dead in my eyes and he said, "You're gonna make it far in life." And I do not remember what he was doing, what he was about. I don't remember any of the services he was providing, but that moment has stuck with me forever. I still remember it to this day. Him looking at me dead in the eye and saying, "Hey kid, you're gonna be somebody in life. You're gonna
Yeah.
make it somewhere in life. I
Yeah.
know it." And like you said, I don't remember what it was about. I just remember how he made me feel in that moment. I felt so empowered, and to this day, I still remember that. That small gesture. I mean, he probably doesn't even remember it.
Yeah.
Doesn't even know who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And that small gesture has. I mean, I've had that phrase going through my mind since then. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
Right. And that small gesture, it's been with me since then.
Yeah. I mean, you really don't know the impact of what a little bit of kindness. I mean, those were, what was that? 3 words? You
Yeah.
will be 4 words?
Yeah.
It was 4 words. And it's kind of shifted your entire mentality for your life of, okay, like, I'm gonna be somebody.
Right.
That made you, give you drive and motivation, you know? And it's almost like you don't know what's going to happen next. You don't know the impact of that word, those words, or even that attitude, you know? And everyone is dealing with something.
Yeah.
Everyone has something going on in their life that is eating their brain, making them, think and challenging them in some kind of way. And it's important that we treat everybody in a way that, okay, you don't know what's going on in that person's life. And if you just drop that dose of kindness into it, what it can do for them, because as a kid, it's like, you have the whole world in front of you, and for someone to tell you you're going to be somebody can really, give you that character of like, yes, I can, I will be.
It could change the trajectory of a person's life,
Yeah.
something small like that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the cool thing about kindness. I mean, I told my kids' classes this week is that it's not a rule, it's not a law.
Yeah.
you don't have to be kind,
Yeah.
right? It's a choice,
Yeah.
right? It was, like you said, we don't know what everybody is going through. I can't see into the lives of everybody around me,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So I can't control everything around me. The only thing I can control is myself,
Yeah.
right? And it's a choice to be kind,
Yeah.
right? Go out of your way to give to somebody else, right?
Yeah. And you know, with you saying that, it kind of makes me think of this, right? It's easy for people to be kind to somebody when someone's already being kind to them, when someone's already being nice to them. What shows true character is when you're kind to somebody, even when they're difficult with you. You know, even when they're seeming to have a hard time and they're not really, you know, they're not being the nicest person to you. It's true strength when you can be kind when somebody else isn't.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just, it's the choice that you have to make. It's hard to be kind when somebody is, you know, might be saying something to you that you don't like, or, you know, and that's where true strength will show, is in that moment when, okay, I can respond two ways, in a negative way or in a way that maybe will de-escalate the situation, or, you know, make this a better outcome than if I chose the negative. So, you know, it's you got to make that choice every single time to choose kindness, because good things will happen because of that.
Yeah, I also don't think it's great to choose kindness, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of times it's easier to just look the other way and
Right.
and not be kind. I forgot where I heard this, but there was a study done on I believe it was specifically psych majors, and it was staged where they had to take a final or a test of some sort, and they were purposely made late to this test, these test subjects. And on their way walking to the test, there was an individual that needed help. I don't know what the situation was, but that individual needed help. And most of the test subjects just walked straight through, did not offer help to this person, whatever the situation was. But I think it's just an interesting thing to ponder on, how what was the real grand consequence of staying there an extra minute to help that person in need.
Yeah.
You know, really not a big consequence, right? But most people choose the easier thing. I'm just gonna keep moving.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
going. I don't need to stay and help.
And I mean, it's not their fault, you know? I mean, they want to do what's best for them, but you want to wish that helping somebody else
Yeah.
that needs it, you know, you would want someone to help you in that time of need. And that's you know, I mean, they say, like, you want to treat people how you want to be treated, and that statement holds true forever.
Yeah.
You know, if you needed help, you'd want someone to help you. You'd want someone to be there. And that's kind of where I put myself when you know, not that I look down on somebody else, but I look, okay, I put myself in their shoes. And if I was in this situation, I would hope somebody would step in and help me, whatever, you know, get going to do what I needed to do. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting that people would just walk past, but I mean,
I think it happens every day in our lives. These little
Yeah.
moments, like
Yeah.
simply like road rage, right? We don't know what that other person's going through. You get
Right.
cut off. Our
Yeah.
instant reaction is, you know, screw this guy. He just cut me
Yeah.
off. I'm gonna do this or do that, or you know, it
Yeah.
immediately escalates to this big, grand, like ginormous situation.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, something I practice is I usually don't get upset. Very rarely do I get that road rage, right? Most of the time it's because I think, man, you know,
yeah,
they got somewhere to be, or you
Yeah.
know, like they're in their own world. Everybody's in their own world, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they're in a situation where, hey, they gotta get somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they're in a situation where, you know, I don't know what their situation is, so I can't be getting completely upset. I'm gonna choose the path
Yeah.
of kindness. Hey, you know what? Give them the
Yeah.
wave, or when I cut somebody off accidentally, whatever, give them the wave. My bad, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna choose that path of kindness instead of the inclination to
that snowball.
Yeah,
You know, it's like gonna make you, it's gonna ruin your day. You know, like you could think about that moment of all day, like, man, that guy cut me off. You know, I just wanna, I wanna find him. And it's like, dude, no. Like if you just let it go, like you get used to that kindness, and we say like always be kinder than you need to be. Always. Always, like whatever amount of kindness you want to give a little bit more, because it'll help you. It'll help you. You know, with like just forgiving that person and moving on, because then you're not holding that weight. You're letting it go, and you can go along your day without thinking about, you know, an outcome that maybe you could have done differently if you just choose kindness. Just that little extra bit, you know, sometimes there's a lot of strength in choosing something other than the negative feeling, you know, it's
Right.
and yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also like our emotions kind of, we think of our emotions as things we should act upon.
Right.
Right. And I think if we shift our thinking into more our emotions, our feelings, they're there. They're not like meant to be necessarily ignored. We have to feel them, right? But then mature people, what do? They take those emotions and they take the next right action after that.
Yeah.
Right? Most of us, especially with the brain rot going on nowadays, everybody's very impulsive, everybody's very short, right? You feel something, you act, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we just learn to slow down more and feel things, and then logically think through what's the best way to address this situation, I think we'd all be in a much better place.
Yeah, and I think that's the difference between like the wisdom and the knowledge, right? Because the knowledge, I mean, does anyone think like road rage is the right thing to do? Probably not. You know, no one thinks that they should, you know, say that or do that or, you know, act that kind of way. But the wisdom is applying those things. And what it starts with is small details, you know, small details, and like taking care of yourself and you know, making sure that you are in a good position so that you don't have to act that sort of way, you know, and applying the principles into your life to make sure that you're not the one flying off the handle, you know, and controlling that emotion and taking the time that is necessary to do that and learning about yourself. And that's why I love this sport. You know, that's why I love this sport, because it's a team because we're all in here, but it's so individual in the fact that you have to learn yourself and learn to control those emotions. And you know, I there's strength and kindness for me go hand in hand, because in martial arts, right, we learn atrocious techniques to hurt somebody in the worst ways possible, but we don't hurt them,
Right.
and that's discipline. That's the choice that we make to, oh, this guy's new, I'm not gonna break his arm. You know, I'm not gonna slam him on the ground. He's new, I'm gonna teach him something. I'm gonna be kind to him, because at one point in my life, it was my first time on the mat.
Yeah.
You know, at one point in my life, somebody showed me something and made me feel welcome and made me feel like this is my home, right? And the opposite has been true too. You know, there's been times where I've trained somewhere or I've been with certain people and they've made me feel the opposite. And I remember that. And that's why I don't go back there. You know, that's why I'm in here, because people make me feel welcome and make it's a good environment.
Right.
And that's why I love this sport, because there's so much self-control needed to be doing this.
Yeah.
And that's why people come in here, they train for 6 months, a year, 2 years, or even, you know, the rest of their lives. And they walk out of here being 100 times better versions of themselves. You know, it's like our job is almost easy because the sport does what it needs to do for itself, for them. You know, we're just here to pave the way for them.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. So this kind of leads us into relationships, really.
Yeah.
And
It's a good one.
I think we'll tie it in with this, right? I think obviously relationships are built on kindness, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But let me hold that point for a second. We'll circle back to it, right? The analogy we're talking about this month is that relationships are like a bank account, right?
Yeah.
And one thing I've been chewing on is that we have to think, as weird as it sounds, but relationships are transactional, right? Meaning you have to give value, right, in order for that relationship to work, right? No matter what kind of relationship it is, whether it's student to teacher, whether it's parent to child, whether it's friend to friend, whatever it is, it's transactional. There has to be some sort of value exchange between the two parties,
Right.
right? So kind of using the bucket analogy as well, right? These kind of go hand in hand, right? If your bank account is at zero, there is no relationship,
Yeah.
right? If it's in the negative, then you kind of hate each other, right? Ideally, you're depositing into that bank account, right? And growing at that savings account, growing it, right? And the bigger that amount is in that bank account, the stronger the relationship is,
Yeah.
right? And again, it's built on acts of kindness, right? Now, when you mess up and you make a mistake, it's like taking a withdrawal out of that account. However big that mistake is, that's how much you withdraw from the account. And when that account gets to zero again, you're breaking that relationship,
Yeah.
right? So we want to make sure every interaction we have with the people that matter in our lives, obviously with everybody, but especially with the people that matter in our lives,
Yeah.
we're depositing into that bank account,
Yeah.
into that relationship,
Yeah.
instead of withdrawing constantly, you know?
Yeah, I mean, two things immediately come to mind when you say that. And it's that when there's issues in a relationship, which there's going to be issues in any relationship, there's going to be some kind of, hill for the two people involved in a relationship, whatever it is, friends or romantic relationship, or with your parents or siblings or any kind of relationship. There's going to be storms that come, or there might even be mistakes that are made.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to happen. It's just human nature. It's just human nature. It's just what is going to happen. What's important is that you still act with kindness even during those times, because if you can find a solution to that mistake, that issue, it can strengthen the relationship.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, you made a mistake and this person's bad. It's not, you messed up and it's bad. It can still, you can withdraw from that bank account on accident, by
Yeah.
mistake, but then the steps moving forward can refill that bank account times X,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's even harder to understand that with a person that you're very familiar with. So,
Right.
I mean, when you're starting out a relationship, I think it's funny. I had a psych professor, a social psych professor. She shared a story of a friend of hers, and that lady's husband or whatever. The joke was that at the beginning of their relationship, there was all these courtship, things going on, and flowers and all this, and nice gestures, and then
Right.
as their marriage progressed, all of that kind of faded away.
Right.
So I think there's two things there. Number one, to start a relationship, you have to make a big investment, right? You have to really work hard
Yeah.
at depositing into that bank and putting in as much as you can,
Yeah.
so that you don't just have a $1,000 emergency fund.
Right,
You
yeah.
have 10K
full thing.
stacked in that account.
full thing.
But with that said, it also takes maintenance, right?
Yeah.
And you can't just stop doing these gestures
Yeah.
and expect the relationship to maintain itself,
Yeah.
right? You got to keep working at it,
Yeah.
keep giving those kind gestures. And a lot of these things become hidden, right? Sensei Alex always says, what becomes familiar becomes hidden, right? So when we're very comfortable in our relationships, whether it's parents, siblings, whatever it is, right? We almost stop being kind. It almost becomes an expectation that relationship will just stay the same,
Yeah.
no matter what. Even
Yeah.
if we mess up, it's okay. Everything,
Yeah.
but that's not how it works,
Yeah.
right? you're bound to make mistakes, right? But you have to maintain that relationship and keep depositing into that account.
Yeah, and sometimes even going over that, because sometimes it takes a little bit of extra, because sometimes you're down, I'm up, and we need to balance each other out in a way. And another thing, what you mentioned was about staying in the relationship, still maintaining it. It's important that we still show up in our relationships, and we talked about what was it, joy last month, and then about being present. And it's important that we still recognize the value in spending time with people, even though they're familiar with us.
Yeah.
This specifically goes with like our family, I mean, or whoever we live in the house with. You get so familiar with those people, sometimes it's almost like you don't even ask them how their day was, and it's important to still show up to those relationships and not only listen to what they have to say or, pay attention to what they do in their life, but comprehending it as well.
Yeah.
It's one thing for you to say something to me, but it's another thing for me to take it, recognize what you're saying, and then respond to it in a satisfying way.
Yeah, it's easy to, like you said, there's always two ways to go about a certain action, a certain conversation you're gonna have, a certain way you're gonna do things towards somebody, right? You can always be just straight and blunt and just be demanding and nagging, right? But is that the best way to approach it?
Right.
No. Is it the natural way to approach it? 100%.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just think of it from a parental perspective, telling, hey kid, go clean your room. Right?
Yeah.
Go clean the dish. Like, just nagging and demanding. Like, that's one way to do it.
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
Then you could always take a step back, and this is harder, it takes more effort, right? But if you were to take the extra step and just say it in a kinder way, right, that's gonna not only build the relationship, but it's gonna be more effective way to communicate, more effective way to navigate the world.
Yeah. I mean, because the last thing you want to do for the people around you is drain their energy and not want them to be around you.
Yeah.
That's like, I see it happen often with, some people I used to be friends with and some people around, at work and everything. And it's like everyone has a magnet, everyone has a magnet, and people that are positive and uplifting each other, they will want to be around each other.
Yeah.
We'll just connect, connect. But the people that are draining energy, they like deflect people away from them, because no one wants to be around that person where, okay, you finish a conversation with them and you're like, man, like
That was rough.
That was rough, yeah, right? Or even like, you have that conversation with them or you spend a decent amount of time with them and you're like, man, like they were so negative, like I'm starting to think negatively, and that's what happens, is that it's contagious, whatever it is, whether it's kindness or it's negativity. And it's important that we are kind to people in our relationships, because then they'll want to be around us a lot more and be able to grow together.
See, I think there's a misconception with kindness sometimes, that kindness has to be something nice all the time.
Yeah.
And I think kindness is much more complex than what we normally think of it as.
Yeah.
I think sometimes kindness is being honest, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
a good point.
It's not necessarily just, 'cause, like, this is gonna be a far stretch, and I might get canceled for this, but like the whole body positivity movement, I think that was too kind. It was too nice.
Yeah.
Right? People are acting in a way that wasn't healthy for them. It wasn't healthy for the people around them. And for some reason, society was just like, hey, let's just be nice to them anyways.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it was an unkind thing for people, really.
Yeah.
Because we pushed certain people to embrace this positivity, but really the kinder thing to do was to have an honest conversation of, hey, be comfortable in your own skin, but also you're not heading in a good direction. You keep doing what you're doing. You're deteriorating your life here.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes true kindness is a difficult conversation.
Yeah.
hey, let me pull you to the side real quick. You know, I've noticed this about you. You know, I'm worried about you.
Yeah.
You know, is that a positive conversation? Absolutely not. It's a hard conversation. But sometimes that's the true form of kindness, right? Being able to have that difficult conversation and talk about a difficult topic, right?
Yeah.
And be honest.
Yeah. I mean, like I keep going back to this, but strength. There's in that difficult conversation, there's somebody that doesn't want to have it, you know, and it's usually both parties, but, and it's like, what happens when you don't have that conversation? Nothing changes.
Right.
You know, having that conversation is having the strength. Obviously, if it's like a good thing, right? If you're pushing someone to be better because of that hard conversation, like, hey, you know, you're doing this and it's leading you down the wrong path, which is like what I think more people should do for each other, especially the people that, you know, we call friends.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, this is another saying, is that you're like the four friends you hang around and you'll be the fifth, you know, some saying like that. And it's like, you want to push the people around you to do better, because then in turn it comes back to you as well and helps you do better. And the start of that is with honesty. Like if someone's making bad choices, not that you should go and attack them for it. You know, it should be a healthy conversation, like you said, of, hey, this is what you're doing, and I think it's negatively affecting you. This is what I've been doing. It's been helping me a lot, and I think if you did that, it'd benefit you. You know, and giving them a path and giving them some guidance, because that's what people need sometimes is someone to be honest with them.
Yeah, that's how I feel, because sometimes I've been told that I'm very blunt and very honest, but I feel like that's the best way to navigate some of these difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Because if I just beat around the bush and I try to be super positive about, I mean, I'm naturally not a positive guy. Like I just have the negative Nancy energy in my head.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, this guy balances me out. But I like that negative voice in my head because it keeps me honest, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people need to hear that truth, that cold, hard truth that's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Right? And especially when people ask me for guidance, you know, they want to see the positive, but I'm like, hey, hang on. Like this path is leading you in a bad direction. If you keep doing what you're doing, this is where you might end up.
Right.
You know, is that really where you want to be?
Right. Yeah.
And that's where I think true kindness lays.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I think this is a good next point, is that a lot of people think that their success is linked to like their money, you know, the kind of car that they drive, the house, and, you know, all the like outside things going on.
Yeah.
But in reality, real success is measured by the relationships that you keep. Because we see this happen pretty often in you know, in Hollywood and in other people's lives, is that they get everything they ever wanted, but they can't maintain relationships in their life, or they're making bad choices and they're doing the wrong thing. And having successful relationships just elevates the rest of your life. You know, having people to fall back on with that honesty and that you know, that push, you know, hey, you should do this, you should do that. It brings you to a different level when you involve other people and you be present with them in their life. You know, it's like the gift that keeps on giving. It's like your friends and your family. They're always going to be there for you, especially if you choose the right friends, but specifically your family will always be there for you. And it's like, they don't really have any other choice, but they don't have a choice, which is another reason why you should be involved in their life. You know, be kind, be someone that they want to be around, be someone that they can look up to, you know. Yeah. Success in life is not how much money you have, the cars, the house, or, you know, whatever you think success is defined as. I truly believe that success is linked to the relationships that you keep, and if you have that positive balance in that bank account in all of your relationships, ideally.
Yeah, I like that you said that, because I would say, me personally, these last 3 or 4 years, really, I'd say the rhythm, my structure, my schedule of my day, my life has virtually been the same, right? I've had about the same workload these last 2 or 3 years, right? But the thing that's made this last 365 days better than any other chunk of 365 days in my life is that I've had much stronger relationships in this time span. I'm still working the same, I'm still going to work, I'm still teaching, I'm still doing all, but the relationships, I've strengthened those bonds a lot more. And through that, I've just found more fulfillment in life.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a much happier person than I was. I'm
Yeah.
much more energetic. I'm just much more alive.
Yeah.
Right. Like we joke about this, but I've known you for how long? Like,
Dude, like 8 years,
and we
something
just
like
started
that.
hanging out like
Yeah,
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
which I think it's crazy, but like, that's just because I was very focused on being closed off in my own little world, in my own
Yeah.
little bubble. And once I focused on shifting my energy from just work, 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 school, 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 and just investing it into those relationships, there's just more fulfillment in there.
yeah. And it's almost like you don't have to be doing the most fun thing to have fun. You know, we could just be sitting here talking, and it could be like, that's why we say, like, you don't want to be the energy vampire.
Yeah.
You know, because you could sit here and just talk, and it can fill you with energy, and you can attack the week just so much better. You know.
I mean, the amount of times we've stayed here after class with a couple of the other guys till like midnight, if not later.
Yeah.
Just sitting on the mat. I mean, we literally did it, what, Thursday?
Yeah.
Yesterday-ish?
Yeah.
We were here till like 11:30 or something.
Yeah.
Just cracking jokes and having a good time. Like,
Yeah.
I think, like you said, success is found in the quality of the relationships that you
Yeah.
can. The quality of your emotions, of course, but the quality of the relationships that you can build. You know.
Yeah, and the way that that translates on the mats, at least what I think is, like, we always say iron sharpens iron, and if we're building each other up as opposed to tearing each other down, we're gonna go so much farther than the people that spend their time, disagreeing and being, resentful towards each other. If we're building, that's the key word, is building. We're
Yeah.
going up, we're building something, and it starts with the good foundation. And the good foundation is in your relationships. You don't have to be the most successful person to have a successful life. You don't have to have $10 billion
Right.
to be rich, and it's crazy to say that, but it's something you only will comprehend if you have successful relationships in your life, because at some point you realize none of that other stuff matters. It really doesn't. As long as, okay, I'm working hard and I have strong relationships and I'm being kind to just about everybody that I know,
Yeah.
there's so much just joy and just gratitude in that, because you appreciate the people around you. You don't see the negative, you're not focused on the negative things, and just by accident you're building something and you don't even realize it.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's so many different examples we could use for acts of kindness.
Yeah.
And just to spit off a few, right? Some things that we tell the kids is you could lend a helping hand. You could give a compliment. You could forgive somebody. Encouragement, showing gratitude, being inclusive of people, smiling and recognizing someone. And I think, kind of like we mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be a ginormous gesture, right?
doesn't.
Literally the smallest thing, holding the door open for somebody at the store, right?
Yeah.
I think we've lost a little bit of this the small mannerisms and the just the small gestures that for our day-to-day life, right? Like you do a really good job of this. Is when we in the drive-through line at fast food, you just strike up a conversation with whoever's at the
talk
window.
to everybody.
Like I don't do that, but like that small gesture, like I'm sure it's making their day. I mean, sometimes
Sometimes they're annoyed.
Sometimes they don't respond well.
Sometimes they don't like me.
but like 70% of the time, they're like, oh, hey,
Yeah.
they strike up a conversation.
Yeah.
And you can tell right away they respond well to that energy. They like that energy. Right?
Yeah.
You're making their day better.
Yeah.
Right? That small gesture of just asking, hey, how's your night going? Boom, lights up their world.
Yeah, and you never know. You never know what's gonna happen. Then it's like, then this is what I was telling one of the guys, what is it, Thursday night. It's just like, if you talk to everybody, then it's like you don't know what opportunity there is. And that's my ideology is like, you just talk to everybody and get to know them, because the reality is that everyone wants to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone does, and if you get away from, okay, it shouldn't always just be about me, it's about the cashier, it's about that person, it's about that. Just like, what do you do? What is unique to you? Because Sensei Adam always told us there's an X factor. Everyone has one. You just got to find it. And I personally, I like to help people find that. I like to help people find what is unique about them. What is that thing that sets that fire inside of them, that gets them going? And I like to, just help them explore that. And that's why I just like to get to know people on every level, just in depth, just talking about them. And yeah.
Yeah, I think we've I mean you do this a lot, but times we've spent together, we've just been filling buckets lately, and
Yeah.
it's been fun. It's been fulfilling. It's been fun, and it's so awesome just to light up somebody's world with a small gesture that really almost comes at zero cost
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
And to see how that small action changes their day, changes their night, whatever, and it makes their life a little bit better. That's the essence of kindness, really.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said in the beginning of this, is that it doesn't have to be something huge.
Yeah.
It doesn't. Over time, it's like going to the gym. You just build that muscle, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I did that for someone, and like with no ulterior motive.
Yeah.
I just did it because I wanted to. Then you're like, that's true kindness, and that's just a part of who you are now, and that's like, it's a feeling that's unexplainable, because you can just give. You're pouring your bucket and it fills you, even though it might, you might be giving something out. So it's like, it's overall just a very, very positive thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I'm pretty positive. Like, I just like to see the good things in life. I want to know from you, do you think that kindness is a rare thing? Like, do you think that we've walked too far away with this capitalist society of more and more and more, give me more, I need it, I need it? Did we walk away from kindness and selflessness? Do you think that we walked away from that?
That's a great question. I think it depends on the context. I think right now, where we are, specifically in the country, I think we're very divisive, meaning everybody's very out for themselves. And is there kindness out there? Sure. But I think we're just so quick to boom, me, boom. This made me feel a certain way, and I'm going to act a certain way.
Right.
And I think if we could just slow down and just not be so quick to pick sides and just everybody's in their own world. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think if we just slow down and we're all in our own world, we're just, you know, I think there has to be this slowing down and less emotional reacting to things.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of just straight, boom, like a switch flips and words are said that aren't meant and actions are done that are, you know, obviously horrendous. And I just think it starts with, again, small gestures, right? Going out of your way to be kind to the person walking down the street, you know, being kind to the person at the cashier, you know, being kind to the person, you know, small things like that. I think we've gotten away from that a little bit, but I think we are very self-centered people, you know, and I think that's not inherently a bad thing if we keep it balanced.
Right.
Right? Because at the same time, if I'm not doing good, then I can't be good for my people.
Yeah.
Right? So I do have to be self-centered to an extent.
Yeah.
Right? But then there comes that balance of, all right, if it's all inward and none of it's outward, then what's really the benefit?
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Like you're not gonna, you know, go donate all your money.
Right.
You know, because that's
and there's no more to give.
Because then you have nothing left. Yeah. It's like it's small things that we should do. You know, it's human nature to be self-preserving, to kind of like, I've got to make sure that I'm safe, that I'm in a good spot. And, you know, I listen to like financial advisors, and that kind of aspect is like, you have to live like nobody else, which is like making the sacrifices for yourself, live like no one else, so you can then give like nobody else. So you have to make that sacrifice now so that later in your life you can make good choices every day without even having to blink about it, you know. And some people work themselves to the point where, you know, they don't even have time to do that kind of thing. And it's,
Well, I think people kind of dig themselves into situations that then leaves them with no options.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like right now, I think the
That's
biggest thing
a
is
good
like
point.
credit cards.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
There's this big anti-credit card wave coming through now, and I myself am like, I don't like using them anymore. Is there a benefit to them? Sure, but like, I think people that dig themselves into situations and then therefore they have no other option. They cannot give. They just can't because they're in this hole.
And then there's that resentment that comes back because it's like, dang, like I can't, you know, and then you feel like you can't.
Right.
And then you project that out to other people, and then it's like a spiraling effect, because then you keep maintaining those same behaviors. So that's a good point. It's like it's a choice, right? But you also have to put yourself into a position so you don't have to, like, or that, not that you have to, but you don't resort to those quick reactions of anger and just resentment and, you know, letting all of that negativity out. So it's important that you financially, one, you take care of yourself, because, you know, emergencies happen, things happen, that you're in a good spot. Emotionally, you do the work for yourself to make sure that you're not reactive to your environment, you're responsive. And then, like, mentally making sure that you're well-read, making sure that you're knowledgeable about what's going on in the world. And I think that's why it's important. You got to know what's going on in the world so that you can react to the environment in a good way. You know, you don't want to not know something and be ignorant to it and then make a mistake not knowing that you're making the mistake, you know. And physically, you know, that's another thing that it's kind of like a renaissance of fitness at the moment, but making sure that physically you're fit, you know. And we talked about that a little bit earlier, but making sure that, you know, you're capable. If something bad happens, you're capable, that you can protect people around you, or if something happened, you can get away from it, you know. So yeah, I mean, that kind of covers all the bases, like financially, making sure that you're in a good spot so that if something bad happens, you're not torn apart. You know, emotionally, maintaining, having good, disposition of who you are and where you're going to be, and being centered in yourself and being present, so that nothing, catches you off guard and sends you off the rails. Being physically fit and making sure that your body is capable of whatever work that you can do. And I don't remember what podcast that I was listening to, but it was one where the guy said that if some people ignore those physical traits, right? Some people are just all work, 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 work. But what they don't understand is the investment of putting yourself through like a workout, putting yourself through that sort of thing gives you more energy and can help you work harder in your life. That's a really slept on thing. And then same with financial, is like you save that money, you can be more aggressive and in investing, or you can take a risk and you can advance yourself forward, which helps you be better. And being emotionally present is being calm when something bad does happen, so you can make a good choice so you don't make it worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people forget to invest in themselves, right? And then you almost become like a liability to an extent.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think, where was I gonna go with this?
You don't want to be a liability. You don't want to let the people around you down, and you don't want them. Not that it's a bad thing, maybe for a season or two to depend on somebody else.
Right.
But you don't want to live there.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. It's like, what it comes back to this value thing. What value are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
Right. If let's just say I don't invest in myself, and no college degree, no job, no good social standing. Like, if what value am I bringing to a relationship, to a family, to society?
Yeah.
Really, right? So you have to invest in yourself, right? You have to be a little bit conceited and a little bit egocentric for a little bit,
Yeah.
right? But that's so that in the future, right, you can give that back out.
Yeah.
Right? You invest in yourself, right? You get your college degree, you get a good career, right? You work out, you're physically fit, right? You're mentally where you need to be, you're emotionally stable, right? That's the one people forget about that a lot.
Yeah.
Being an emotionally stable person,
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can get those core things locked in, you're going to be a stable person, not just for yourself, but for the people around you.
Yeah.
Right? That's the kindest thing you can do for the people around you. Really.
It's like,
invest in yourself.
It's like, when you're investing in the market, you have to diversify your portfolio.
Yeah.
You can't just be one thing, because like stagnant water will run stale. If you're just all work and you're never invested in your relationships, that's gonna fall apart. If you're just all in your relationships but you're never at work, it's you have to be in each area, giving it the appropriate amount of time that is necessary. And sometimes, it's good, okay, this month I worked a lot. This month I invested in my relationships a lot. And you have to diversify it in all areas of your life and make sure that you're well-rounded, as opposed to just like being that workaholic or being too invested in a relationship, which I've seen happen so many times. Or, even those people that are too invested into like themselves, where they like go on crazy trips to find themselves. And it's important to be in each area of your life and not neglect the other ones, but be consistent in all areas of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And just because like some people are cold, right? They want, and they see kindness as a weakness. And I couldn't wrap my head around that too much, but I want to ask you why people do that. Why do people think that kindness is a fault? Why do they think that that's a bad thing? Because in our society, it's just what it is to have to take. So what is the, like, why do people see that as a negative thing?
Well, I think it's because kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. I think people usually think of kindness as everything has to be nice, meaning it's all positivity, it's all good vibes, right? And I don't think kindness is all that, right? Kindness can be that. Kindness can be speaking positive words of affirmation to somebody.
Right.
Kindness can be words of encouragement. Kindness can be, going above and beyond to be very nice for somebody. But it could also be being honest, right? Having difficult conversations,
Right.
right? Putting somebody through, like, I joke, but when I have kids, right, I'm not gonna raise some softies. Like, I think the kindest thing I could do, even for my kids on the mats, like the kindest thing I can do for them is to give them some resilience training.
Right.
So that when they leave these doors, when they leave these mats, they have the tools they need to address life head on.
Right.
Right. It would be very unkind to coddle the kids on the mats and it's okay.
Oh, it's all sunshine and
Yeah,
rainbows.
and then they hit
Little
the streets
Timmy.
and boom, life hits them square in the mouth.
Yeah.
Right? That would be terribly unkind.
Yeah.
Right? So I think if we stop thinking of kindness as just this umbrella of positivity, I think kindness is way beyond that.
Yeah.
Right? Kindness can be a tough lesson. Kindness can be a tough conversation.
Yeah.
Kindness is bigger than just positivity.
Yeah. And I think that people think that, okay, so I have been talking about strength a lot, and I feel like people find that when they're aggressive, that go and get it, that like, oh, I want to, I want it. That aggression is what strength is. That's a misconception, right? Because kindness is quiet. It's not normally. It's not a loud action. It's not screaming. It's not demanding attention. It's calm. It's a calm thing. Like choosing, you can have two choices when someone wrongs you. You can be calm and approach it in a logical manner, or you can show that anger and be loud and demand that attention. Like, look at me, this happened to me. But the strength comes from being able to control that as opposed to letting it all fly out. Being able to forgive somebody. There's so much strength in forgiveness because you're not holding that weight anymore. You're deciding that you can drop that weight. You're not going to let it control you. That is strength. Helping someone that can't repay you, that that they can't repay you. You're helping them just because you want to. That's strength because you don't need anything from them. Yeah. Because we've said before, you've got to have your own back first. Then you can help the people around you. And I think people have that misconception because of ulterior motives. Because in their head, it's like a projection of what they think kindness is someone being a pushover, someone's, they'll let them do anything, and that's not what kindness is. Weakness, and I have some quotes written down. Weakness is being unable to fight, right? Weakness is you can't help yourself,
right?
So that you're weak in a sense. You're not able to help yourself. Strength is when you're able to fight back. You're able to come with that aggression, that quick, that quick response. You're able to do that. But kindness is having the strength, but choosing to be compassionate. Kindness is having the strength, but choosing to be compassionate and choosing to be patient over reactive. And, people aren't kind because they're weak. You have to be kind because you don't have to prove to other people that you're strong. And I'll say that again, because that's like one of my favorite parts of this whole Matchat is, you're not kind because you're weak. You're kind because you don't have to prove that you're strong, because you've covered yourself.
Yeah.
You know the darkest depth that you've been to. You know that in your head. You don't have to prove to other people that you made it out of that. You don't have to prove to other people that, that you're as strong as you say you are. You're as strong as you portray yourself to be. You just are. You just are. You don't have to say it. It doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to come out of aggression. It just happens naturally because that's just who you are.
Yeah, it's like I tell the kids, we always come back to the eagles and chicken story. We're eagles, right? We soar way up here, right?
Yeah.
And all these little birds and chickens, they're not as developed as the eagles are, right? So when people start acting up and talking down to you or saying mean things to you, you always have that choice. The eagle could easily swoop down and take care of business.
Yeah.
Right? But
Yeah.
you're soaring so high where
Right.
you're at that level, you don't even have to bother going back down, right? Because it's gonna take energy to get back up. You're gonna
Yeah.
lose steam going back down and then so if you just maintain and coast at this level, right? You're at this high level of respect and honor,
Yeah.
kindness, strength, right? There's no need to stoop
Yeah.
down to their level.
And why not soar higher?
Exactly.
Why not just go up?
Yeah.
Why not go as high as you possibly can go?
I mean, sometimes the best response to people that are being mean to you or just trying to pick at you is just, cool, whatever, bro. Like,
Kindness, being nice to them.
yeah.
They're mean to you. It's like, well, I like your shirt.
Hey, have a great day.
You have a cool shirt on.
Yeah.
You try to bully me, yeah. I mean, yeah, you're a cool guy. You got me beat.
Yeah. Yeah. Like right now, the younger group I work with, sometimes they just start smacking each other up for no reason.
Yeah.
So usually when I start, trying to nip that in the bud, they're like, oh, well, he hit me first. So then it's like, all right, we're eagles though. Like, you don't stoop
Yeah.
down to their level.
Yeah.
Like, you stay in your lane. Like, you keep coasting. Soaring through the sky. You don't have to stoop down. People are always gonna pick at you, right?
Yeah.
People are always gonna say things to you.
Yep.
Right? You always have the choice of how you respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even if you give it attention, if there's always going to be a doubter. It doesn't matter like what level of life that you're at,
You're always gonna have haters.
There's always going to be someone that's like, man, I can't stand that guy. I don't want to see him win. I don't want to see him doing well. You're always going to have those people that have something to say, and it's like, you've got to be nice to those people. And again, it's going back to what we said. It's when, it's easy to be kind to someone when they're kind to you. Mm-hmm. But it's hard when they're actively trying to be confrontational or they're saying negative things about you. So if you approach that with kindness, it changes the dynamic of that relationship of being something negative. Even if it just brings it at a neutral point, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. That de-escalation
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, my good sir?
I think that was it. We covered pretty much all of our bases there.
Our bases, we covered all our monthly curriculum.
Yeah.
So I think moving forward, I think this is a nicer format.
Yeah, I think we can be more consistent with this.
Yes, absolutely. So every month or so, hopefully it won't be another 3-month break before the next podcast, guys. I'm sorry. Life gets in the way sometimes. Be kind, all right? Be kind. But we'll shoot for once a month, and we'll just kind of go over to the Matchat for the month, and then have another good conversation like we did today.
Yeah, and if you like this conversation, we have this conversation at the end of almost every single one of our, not almost, at the end of every single one of our classes. Yep. We have a conversation like this. It's not, however, 2 hours, an hour and a half, whatever we did just now. It's not that long. It's normally like 10 minutes or so. With Denny, it's Tuesday nights, Thursday nights. With me, it's Friday nights and Saturday mornings. So, if anyone's looking for that, you know, that just sometimes we need to hear words like that to be able to change ourselves. So, you know, we have our free week trial. Everyone's welcome.
Big 3
you know,
MMA.
anybody, it doesn't matter if you're tall or short. You know, it doesn't matter. You can come in.
Everybody's welcome.
You can come in. You know, it changes people's lives.
100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a wrap. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.